This is Chapter 9 of Jane Yolen's book, The Devil's Arithmetic. The villagers gathered uneasily within the half-circle of soldiers and waited to be let into the shul. There was hardly any talking, but Yitzhak's young son Reuven began to whimper. To quiet him, Yitzhak lifted the boy onto his shoulders. Rabbi Baruch, Shmuel, and another man Hannah did not know conferred hastily with the Nazi chief, the one with all the medals. They spoke in swift, hurried bursts of words that Hannah could not distinguish. But she could see that Shmuel's fists were clenching and unclenching behind his back. They were a violent punctuation to all those indistinguishable sentences, as if Shmuel wanted to shake his fist in the Nazi's hand but didn't dare. At last the argument was done, and Shmuel came over to them. He spoke gently. "They insist that we go with them in those trucks." "No!" Hannah protested in a whisper. "Their argument is persuasive," Shmuel answered. His thumb and forefinger pointed at her like a gun. "They say all Jews are being resettled. It is government policy." "I heard that too," Yitzhak added. "Government policy. They've been settling villages closer to the bigger cities. I thought out here they would leave us alone." Another man argued. "What does a Goyish government have to do with us?" "A kick in the face and a hand in the pocket," said another. Wait, Shmuel said. His voice was soft, but his face was grim. "Remember those guns." Vega moved silently into the protection of his arms. "What about our wedding?" She meant it for his ears alone, but Hannah was close enough to him to hear every plaintive syllable. "We will be married, Fag. Your father will marry us. Maybe not here in your shul. Maybe not even under a wedding canopy." "Not under a canopy?" Fag was shocked. "We will be married in God's sight," Shmuel said adamantly. "I promise you that nothing will keep us apart." "The Nazis will," Hannah said suddenly. She could feel the rapid thudding of her heart as she spoke. "They'll take you from here and put you in concentration camp. Then they will put you in gas ovens and kill you." She could hear her voice rise in pitch. Its intensity frightened her. "Chaya," Gittel said sharply, putting her fingers up to Hannah's lips and whispering hoarsely at her. "Hush! The soldiers will hear." Turning in Shmuel's arms, Fag stared at Hannah, her beautiful face sharp, her eyes nearly all pupil. "How can you talk like that? Your words will fly up to heaven and call down the angel of death, Lilith's bridegroom, with his poisoned sword." Gittel shook her finger at Fag. "Nonsense! You talk like an old woman in one of the villages. Angels and poisoned swords. Why not flying chariots and the finger of the Lord? Chaya does no such thing. How could she? She is only a child, as you are no longer. She is a child with too much imagination and stories filling her head. She has just been recalled by a miracle from the doors of death. Shame, Fega, to make her into some kind of monster." Rachel interrupted. "Tante Gittel, I think I know what Chaya was talking about. She told us a story this morning about two children named—" She thought for a moment. "Yes, Hansel and Gittel." "Gretel," Hannah corrected automatically. "Yes, Gretel," Rachel said. "And there is a witch who shoves little boys in the oven and eats them." She shuddered and drew a deep breath. "A fairy tale." "The gas ovens that I mean are no fairy tale," Hannah said. Gittel raised her chin, squinted her eyes, and, ignoring Hannah, addressed Fega directly. "See, my almost sister-in-law, the child was just reciting a story. And surely we have more important things to worry about than Bobby Mince's tall tales." Her hands went up and then back down to her skirt, where she wiped them twice. "And what could be more important than such a curse?" Fega asked, adding slowly, "My sister Gittel." Gittel smiled. "Are your mother and grandmother not important? Where are they? Why have they not come out to greet us?" Fega looked around. "Gittel, you are right. Where are they? And where is Tante Sarah and Tante Deborah?" Her voice trailed off, and she turned back to look at Shmuel. "And all the rest? Where are they?" Her hand twisted and twisted one gold ear bob nervously. Stony-faced, Shmuel wouldn't look down to meet her eyes. In a flat voice, he said, "The colonel informed us that they've already been sent for resettlement already. We will meet them there." "You can't believe that," Hannah cried. What else can we believe? Shmuel asked. Gas ovens, Lilith's bridegroom, poisoned swords, the angel of death? Just then, Reb Baruch cleared his throat loudly, and all the little knots of people who had been talking fell silent. My friends, my neighbors, my children, he began. It seems we have no choice in this matter. The government has decreed that we are to be relocated for the duration of this war. This war in which we Jews take no part. So it is with governments. There was a murmur of assent from the men. My wife, my mother, my sisters, and all of yours, those who are waiting here in Vyask for our return from the forest, those who are getting ready for the wedding, they have been sent ahead. They have taken with them what clothing and household goods we shall need in the resettlement camp. But what of our clothes and our goods? Called out Yitzhak. Those of us not from Vyask. We will share what we have, said the rabbi. For are we not all neighbors and friends? Are we not all brothers and sisters in God's eye? Are we not? All will be taken care of, said the Nazi colonel, interrupting smoothly. You will want for nothing. We want for nothing except to be left alone here in Vyask, said a voice. Nevertheless, the colonel continued, smiling, in this matter we will make the ruling. When you get to your new homes, anyone who wants to work will be treated humanely. The tailor will sew, the shoemaker will have his last, and you will be happy among your own people, just as we will be happy that you have followed the government's orders. The snake smiles, but it shows no teeth, murmured the Batchin. Hannah wondered if anyone else heard him. Raising his hands, the rabbi began to speak. The colonel has assured me that some of his soldiers will remain billeted here to guard our stores and houses and schools from harm while we are gone. At my request, the soldiers will pay special attention to the shul to make sure that the peasants do not desecrate it. Better the fox to guard the hen and the wolves to guard the sheep, the Batchin said. This time he was heard, and there were murmurs in the crowd. One man called out, But Reb Baruch, why would they billet soldiers here if they are needed elsewhere for the war? Am I a general to answer such questions? The rabbi asked. Am I the head of state? I only know what they have promised me so this I believe. They say the war is almost over and we will not be gone from Vyask for long. How long is eternity? The Batchin muttered. Hannah tried to speak again, but this time Gittle's hand covered her entire mouth. Be still, child, Gittle whispered. Whatever your objections, be still. This is not one of your stories that ends happily ever after. Those are not imaginary bullets in those guns. Listen to the rabbi. He is right to calm us. If we go quietly, no harm will come. Suddenly, remembering the pictures on television, the ones that made her grandfather so crazy, Hannah shook her head, but she shook it silently, as Gittle commanded. She wanted to cry. She knew she'd feel better if she could, but no tears came. Drawing a deep breath, she heard the rabbi begin to pray aloud. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elenu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The others joined in, even Hannah. They climbed into the trucks in family groups, reluctant to be parted. Since Shmuel would not let go of Fega's hand despite the rabbi's fierce stare, the rabbi was forced to climb into the truck with them, standing next to Hannah. Yitzhak handed his children up to Gittle one at a time, and she kept her arms tight around the little girl, Zipporah. There were finally so many villagers packed into each truck there was no room to sit down. So they stood, the children up on men's shoulders. They looked like holidayers off on a trip, but they felt to Hannah all crushed together like cattle going to be slaughtered for market. The trucks barreled down the long, winding road, and passengers silenced by the dust deviling up by the heat. After a bit, to keep the children in the truck from crying, Gittle began to sing. First she tried a lullaby called Yangala to quiet them. Then several children sang, but As the truck continued without stop, carrying them farther and farther from Vyazk onto roads most of them had never seen, she broke into a song that, for all its wailing minor notes in the la-la-la chorus, sounded angry. Hannah tried to make out the words above the noise of the truck. They were about someone called a chafer, a snatcher, kidnapper, who dragged men off to the army. One verse went, "Sir, give me a piece of bread. Look at me, so pale and dead." It hardly seemed a song to calm the children, but first Shmuel, then Yitzhak, then several of the other men in the truck joined in, singing at the top of their voices. The children on their perches clapped in rhythm. At last, even Fega and her father began to sing. Hannah listened to the growing chorus in wonder as the song leaped from truck to truck down the long road. Didn't they know? Didn't they guess? Didn't they care? She kept remembering more and more bits and pieces of her classroom discussion about the Holocaust, about the death camps and the crematoria, about the brutal Nazis and the 6 million dead Jews. Was knowing or not knowing more frightening? She couldn't decide. A strange, awful taste rose in her mouth, more bitter even than the Seder's bitter herbs, and they were for remembering. She fought down the taste. She could not be sick. Not here, not now. She opened her mouth to catch a breath of air and found herself singing. The sound of her own voice drowned out the steady drone of the tires on the endless, twisting road.